one of the questions I get from ag professionals is, how do we talk to farmers about this? And there's sometimes some apprehension in talking to farmers about climate change, given the views about climate change aren't uniform across the country. So there's been some really interesting work that's been done out of Iowa State, some researchers, Gordon Arbuckle and Lois Morton in particular, that looked at farmer belief and farmer understanding. And one of the things that they noted is that there's not one single farmer or one single belief. In fact, there's a range of views. And in my experience, the range of views within the farm community is actually a reflection of views that you see across the broader population in the U.S. There are folks that are convinced that climate change is not occurring. There are folks that are convinced that it is occurring and it's caused by humans. And then there's a lot of folks in the middle that see the climate changing, are pretty confident that what they're seeing is not necessarily normal, but are either not so much confused, but don't necessarily have all the answers. And so what you find is that a good chunk of folks actually see or can observe changes in climate and have evidence that it's changing. And there's this chunk up here, this 27%, that basically says we don't know, right? We don't know whether the climate change is changing, or we personally don't have the evidence as to whether it's changing or not. And so that's important for USDA and our partners to understand, is that for an issue like this, there are a lot of questions out there. And as a science-based agency, USDA, it's important for us to convey the science, to answer farmers' questions, to tell them what we know about climate change and why we're confident that these changes are occurring, but not to beat folks over the head with it, not to make it a point where you're challenging their belief or you're challenging their understanding of things. But certainly what we found out there are a lot of questions. And it's important for our folks to be comfortable, know the science, and being able to talk about it. So, when we get to that, we're pretty clear with these points that, agriculture has and will be continued to be affected by climate and climate change. There are a lot of options that are available to farmers to position themselves and for USDA to position the sector to deal with those risks and vulnerabilities. And that by building resilience, we're also going to create a lot of other benefits for farmers and for the farming systems. So we've done a lot of assessment work looking both at the sector and at specific crops and production systems. And the stresses aren't uniform. So if you look at a crop like corn, longer growing seasons certainly benefit corn production, but in the southern part of the region where corn is grown, high nighttime temperatures can cause problems with pollination, and water stress certainly can cause problems with the crop. That's also true for soybeans as well. For wheat, the increased variability that we see in the wintertime and changes in frost can certainly affect wheat crop. There's a variety of effects that we would see in cotton and rice. And then when we get to specialty crops and fruit trees and orchard systems, there's a lot we don't know. There's a lot of research that still needs to be done on changes in chilling requirements and changes in what we would expect in terms of adaptation responses. Given that specialty crops and orchard systems tend to be very valuable, there are adaptation and resilience strategies that might work within those systems that wouldn't necessarily work for some of the commodity crops. It's not just temperature. We certainly are seeing changes in the distribution of insects and pests and pathogens and weeds. Here's an area where having a partnership with Extension is going to be really powerful. To the extent that folks within the state, folks within the university system are seeing these changes in the field and sharing that information with folks from our climate hubs, we're going to have a better handle on what some of these trends are. So this is an area where you all can be the eyes and ears of agriculture and help us keep tabs on what we're seeing and how things are changing in the field. It's not just crops, it's also livestock. If you think of livestock like people, certainly they don't do extremely well in very cold conditions, but there's also limits, and you can get high temperatures where you affect production of both meat and dairy and eggs. And in some places, if you get a high enough combination of both temperature and humidity, sort of a misery index, it can provide either severe stress or in cases be fatal. It also has the effect of changing feed. So farmers that are dependent on forage for their livestock, climate change can have effects on that, and it can affect diseases and pests in the livestock sector as well. So what are some options? Certainly looking at selection of breeds and types that are ideal for a certain region, looking at changes in nutritional needs of livestock during periods of high heat load. Some options that are available for livestock include cooling systems and both active and passive, rotational grazing systems to improve the quality of forage, and then reducing stocks, again, like what we saw in the southern plains when we had the severe drought in 2011. On row crops, we've got a lot of work underway to improve drought tolerance in the major commodity crops, thinking carefully about planting dates and utilizing the longer growing season to avoid some of the high temperatures that we might see, increasing organic content in the soil. And here, there's a lot of interplay between our conservation strategies and our production systems. So pretty much consistently, if we can improve soil health, we can improve resilience to climate extremes. And so that means things like conservation tillage and no-till, buffer strips, organic amendments, things that are going to increase the organic content in the soil. On water management, and this is important especially in the south and southwest and parts of the Great Plains, really focusing on irrigation efficiency. Irrigation can be an important strategy to help manage climate variability and climate change. And then over time, looking at water storage, making sure that the water resources are adequate for agriculture, both on the farm and within a region. So this is an interesting slide. We have looked extensively at what we saw in the Midwest in 2012 and examined how farmers fared and how some farmers fared better than others. And it turned out that farmers that had strong conservation practices in place, had no-till, had high organic content in the soils, tended to do better than their neighbors that might have been managing their systems more conventionally. And there's an important lesson here for folks involved in extension, that soil health can build general resilience in combating drought, but also helping deal with some of these wet springs and excessive moisture on farms as well.